Hey everyone, so as you know, Worlds is in Korea this year, which means all of the pros are over there right now with brand new Riot accounts ranking up. I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a look and see what champions they are using now to climb in solo queue, which should be super good if all you care about is grinding out a new rank before the end of the season. You've still got a month left, so there's more than enough time to learn one of these if you wanted to. But fun fact, before we start the video, the only role with nobody in Challenger yet is AD carry. That feels pretty bad. So I looked through all of the players that are over there right now, and I took a max of 3 champions, top 3 champions for each player, not counting if they are using a previous Korean account from like before Worlds or something. So basically most of these have less than 100 wins, but under 200 to 300 games played max. So we're going to start in the top lane. This is the one where actually has the most Challenger accounts right now. So there are 9 players and 3 of those are actually Challenger. Whippo from Fnatic, Soaz by the way is almost Challenger, but Let Me from RNG and Licorice from C9. So there are 9 players, right? And 9 of them are using Aatrox right now. 8 of them are using Urgot, and then it's kind of just like a real drop off really. Like Akali is 2, Ryze is 1, and Camille is 1. This is the role that has like the least amount of variety. Like Aatrox and Urgot are clear favorites obviously, and they're pretty much pick or ban every single game. Aatrox is using Electrocute and this Ghost Bay Black Cleaver build that we talked about before. It gives you loads of AD and armor penetration, which means you're going to be healing for a lot more. Arcane Comet, by the way, is also pretty good as a keystone. They tend to take this versus ranged matchups, so if you're going to struggle a little bit to get the Electrocute off and auto attack, you can take Arcane Comet for the poke. If you're a top laner right now, all 3 challengers have used this to get there. All 3 of them. It is such a good choice to climb, and you probably should use it. Looking at Urgot, he's using Unsealed Spellbook, which lets you go nuts in lane. That you have like the Exhaust, the Ghost, the Ignite, all up to fight and get an early lead. You're already a massive lane bully, which is partly why that works, and all using Time Warp Tonic and Corrupting Potion to make sure they have better sustain and trading when it's active. It seems to be taken really if Aatrox is banned, but another good thing against Urgot actually is Lissandra Aftershock. It's been popping up a ton over there. As I said, it's mostly against Urgot. That is when it seems to be picked, probably when Aatrox is banned as well. You have good wave clear and poke as normal, but now a ton of resistances to survive when you go in and you press your W and use the crowd control. Aftershock means you can't really get insta-blown up anymore. Even though you're building full AP and damage, you're still going to do a lot of damage. You don't need the keystone to do it. You're just going to survive a lot more. It seems to be something a lot of these are using when Aatrox and Urgot are taken away. It's actually a lot more popular right now. It's only been in the past few days, but it is pretty much everywhere. So let's move into the jungle. There are 12 players. A lot of teams have their sub role as the jungler, so that is why there are a lot more. Challenger-wise, we have 1, which is Ander from 100 Thieves. Yankos from G2 is just behind that, actually almost in Challenger. Harrow from EDG just under that, and then after that, we have the 2 C9 boys. So there is more variety, but we have a clear favorite at the top, which is Talia. 6 of these players have used it, so that is half of the players have used Talia so far. Graves is 5, Lee Sin 4, Gragas 4, so those are the top 4 already. After that, we have quite a lot of Camille. We have a bit of Nidalee, a bit of Kindred, Xin Zhao, and Kha'Zix as kind of the backups. Interestingly, Ander, who is the highest ranked, has actually used Dark Harvest, Nidalee, and Graves to climb pretty much exclusively. Only a little bit of Talia now. Talia kind of fell out of favor with most people, but she is so deadly still at the moment. Really good damage and one of the best pressure ganking junglers at the moment. So Yankos basically only plays this and Predator Gragas, and both of those are just running around and trying to pop off in the game. Talia might not be a lot of these most played always, but pretty much has one of the highest win rates across everybody that has actually played her at all. Lee Sin though is Dark Harvest, by the way. Warrior Cleaver and just grabbing a lot of AD to be a real threat, like a proper carry. Take Svenskeren, right? A really good Lee Sin player. He got 24 kills in a master level game the other day. Lee Sin always used to fall off a little bit and couldn't redo that, but with Dark Harvest, he can continue to carry. With Graves, it is kind of surprising that more people aren't using him, to be honest, but it seemed like most people favored a very like heavy gank style jungler instead. There is a lot more fighting early game, but with these high pressure junglers like Talia and Lee Sin and stuff, games are often 15 to 20 minutes long, so that definitely makes more sense. You need some early pressure. There is nothing too crazy that is different, but there are a few things like Dark Harvest or Predator Jarvan is quite popular at the moment, which we don't see a lot of over here. A few people on Kindred as well were also running Resolve secondary in their runes. Bone Plating and Chrysalis actually instead of Sorcery for more damage. It seemed to be mostly against Lee Sin actually, but I'm not sure if that was the only reason why. It would kind of make sense though. It's a pretty hard matchup and Lee Sin is going to destroy you early. Moving into the mid lane, we have 9 players here. One of them is Challenger, and that's Xiaohu from RNG. I think I'm saying that right. So pretty much everybody is using Irelia. 7 of the 9 players have used her to climb. We have 4 of them using Ryze and 3 of them using LeBlanc. 2 of them have been using Lissandra actually. We'll talk about that in a second. 2 Zoe, 2 Aatrox, 1 on Syndra, and 1 on Akali. So Irelia is by far the most used mid laner, and only Jizuki from Vitality hasn't been playing her at all, it seems like. Everybody else has played games on her. This is also with her ban rate in the 40% territory, by the way. I think that in itself says a lot, that she's banned a lot and and picked when she isn't. Normally with some picks you want to avoid certain matchups, but it doesn't seem like Irelia already has that. They'll pretty much pick her every time she's available. You can outplay most people and you can really carry, which is why. It's quite easy to win your lane on Irelia if you're good with her, and once you've done that and once you're ahead, you have a lot more damage than people can handle and you basically just roam around. Ryze is a little bit different though. On pros, he is almost always strong. He's not as much for solo queue really, so you might want to skip over that one. LeBlanc though is good for solo queue. Was played by almost all of these mid laners, but only 3 used her properly and they had some nutty win rates. She's also banned in about 40% of games in Korea, by the way, so there isn't really as much chance to use her even if they wanted to, but she is a proper assassin and a real true carry champion. I was kind of surprised that Akali was only used by one person in the top 3, but it appears in almost all of the players' top 10 champions. She is one of the most banned at the moment, and I'm guessing that's kind of why she wasn't used a lot more, especially because a lot of top laners take her as well. So Lissandra with Aftershock was also picked up a lot by mid laners. It isn't just top lane. I couldn't see any pattern this time. Like top lane, it was versus Urgot most of the time, right? It's kind of a counter pick. For the mid lane, it just seemed to be random really, and picked versus a lot of different things like LeBlanc, for example, and Akali especially is quite good against that. A few have also used that Glacial Augment build with the GLP and Twin Shadows, but on Ahri this time. I've seen it in solo queue, it's quite good, but Ahri normally isn't played that much by pro players, so it shows that the build is really solid if they're actually bringing her out. We're going to finish this video with the bot lane, starting with AD carry. There are only 8 players, and as I said, there are no challenger players right now. Reckless would be the highest of the AD carries at Worlds at the moment who didn't have a previous account, followed by Sneaky, Cody, and then Doublelift. Though Double and Sneaky have played like half as many games as the others. So Kai'Sa has been used by 5 out of 8. Half of them have been using Xayah, 3 of them have been using Tristana, and then we have some Lucian, some Draven, a little bit of Vayne, and a little bit of Jhin. Kai'Sa has an insane play rate and win rate at Worlds so far, so it is no surprise that she is also the most popular champion on here, and she is normally the most popular champion in solo queue anyway. You can outplay people and you can really show your skill when you're good with this champion and a good player in general. You can be strong at all stages of the game, especially in the lane phase with a good support. You can actually get a lot of kills. The thing is, they actually don't have insane win rates with Kai'Sa, to be honest, but she is the most consistent game to game and can be picked versus anything really, so that is probably why. Xayah was a little bit of a surprise to me, but she does have a really good win rate on pretty much everybody. This is lethal tempo as well, but not always even paired with a Rakan like we would have seen before. You're a bit safer than other AD carries, but to be honest, even when Xayah isn't the best in solo queue, pros are playing her and winning a lot, so that doesn't really mean that she is going to be a god tier for solo queue, even though she is probably pretty good. Tristana was played by a lot of these, even if it was outside their top 3, so it's kind of deceiving a little bit. Like, she was actually played a lot. It seemed like a really good fallback option if Kai'Sa wasn't available. Lucian had some nutty win rates when played and was almost in every single game, to be honest, so this again doesn't actually tell the whole story. So the pros would favor like Kai'Sa or Xayah, but they would normally always be against a Lucian on the other team. Now the Lucian could have been picked first, we don't really know obviously, but Lucian was in basically every single one of these games. The only different stuff for AD carry was like Draven was played a bit by some of the players, but they didn't even grab a Stormrazor 9 times out of 10. They went straight for the Bloodthirster, BF Sword, Zeal, and then they finished the Infinity Edge straight after. We haven't seen that for a long time since the Stormrazor and the crit changes, but also as well, when Vayne was played, they rarely built Rageblade. So it's not really the picks that are different, it's kind of the builds, if that makes sense. Like for Vayne, most of the time it was Blade into Phantom Dancer or Rapid Fire Cannon, something like that, and then Infinity Edge afterwards. It was kind of like a crit focused build with like Blade to start with. Maybe they think like Rageblade is too slow for the Korean meta, that might be why. So lastly then we have the support role. 10 players, 1 challenger, and it's actually Dreams, which is the Vitality sub. The support role is honestly just dominated by Pyke and Thresh. Like everybody is playing these champions and has used them to climb pretty much. Alistair is there as well. 3 out of 10 were using him. 2 out of 10 using Gragas and Rakan as well. And then a little bit of Braum and Zillion at the bottom. This is the patch, by the way, where Pyke was buffed to have more execution damage on his ultimate and is now just really a terror in solo queue. He's so good at getting kills. He's picked with every single AD basically versus any matchup, and he does well. It's also normally this tank build instead of AD with Frozen Heart and then eventually a Gargoyle Stoneplate. Thresh though is absolutely everywhere. I would have said he's the most popular support at the moment. Like recently, the past few days, literally every support has been playing him, even if it's not their most played champion. He was also buffed last patch, remember, and he's even stronger now. Some of those who main Thresh though, like having as their #1, have some ridiculous win rates as well. It's kind of scary. I really want to mention Rakan in this as well. Even though he's only 2 out of 10, it's Guardian with Zeke's Rush normally, but it's being used a lot more and not just with Xayah in the past few days. I'm not sure what triggered this really, like everybody to go and play it. Maybe they're just like sharing information and stuff, but they've been playing that over Pyke and Alistair. Thresh seems to be the first first choice, but then it kind of seems to be Rakan. Speaking of which, apart from Zillion, which is Hylissang from Fnatic, by the way, has like a 70% win rate, but nobody else is playing him. All of these are more aggressive frontline crowd control champions. Bot lane is way more action-packed and like fighting and stuff. The aim is really to kill somebody, get a lead, and then use that lead to snowball the game and end it. There are hardly any mages played anymore. They're all too low health, and going up against like a Thresh or something is just suicide, really. Like Nami, for example, top tier over here normally, right? Nowhere to be seen in Korea. No Lulus or anything like that either. More likely, you're going to see a Nautilus, which kind of says everything. That is probably the massive difference with a support player. So I hope this was interesting, and it might help you a little bit with your end of season climb, or kind of cool at least to see what they're playing over there in Korea. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Oh, by the way, as well, I have a new outro made by one of you guys, a viewer called Florencia. Thank you very much, by the way. Let me know what you think of it, but for now, I will leave you with the robots.